Hi, this is Mark Wahlstrom. Welcome to the Settlement Channel, a featured broadcast here on the Legal Broadcast Network. Well, this is part 2 in our series on planning and working and figuring out how to handle savings, retirement, and settlement planning in this unbelievably low interest rate environment that we're in. And one of the things I've done is I've changed up a little bit the order in which I'm doing these, because the first video where I did an intro, I talked a little bit about the economic argument, but going back and looking at it, I think I really need to stress the economic argument and the market forces that are at play here. I mean, the reason is that you cannot sell or explain that which you don't understand or believe yourself. So you've got to understand why we are taking this position. You can agree or disagree, but I've spent months researching this. I've looked back over 30 years of historic activity in the settlement business and in markets, and have come to some conclusions. And I'm willing to stake our business and our approach and the way that we're handling our clients on these beliefs. The first thing is, and we talked about this the other day, is the Arthur Laffer Wall Street Journal article. Now again, we're going to put a link to this in the blog post that's associated with this, but it was the June 7th Wall Street Journal. And Arthur Laffer is a noted economist. He was famous for the Laffer curve, which was widely ridiculed by classic and liberal economists back in the early 80s. He was embraced by Ronald Reagan. And his premise, which was right then and I believe is right again now, is that tax rates have an enormous impact on economic and human behavior as far as how people handle their money, invest their money. His premise is that with the huge tax rates that are ready to kick in 2011, whether they're estate tax, in many places sales tax, state income taxes, federal income taxes, a big jump in the dividend rate, a big jump in corporate tax rates, a big jump in capital gains rates. Everything is going up, and what's happened is that the reality of this Congress, that they are not going to do anything to stop those tax increases, that we're seeing a ton of financial decisions, investment decisions, economic decisions pushing income into 2010, but that is going to have a pronounced impact in 2011, and in all likelihood could lead to a double-dip recession. Well, no one wants to see that coming, and no one really wants to talk about it. The reality is, whether or not it's a double-dip recession, we are not going to see robust economic growth. And there's a couple different things I want to talk about and go over. You know, a recession or serious slowdown is inevitable, and with it, more deflation and at least a slow economy. In that world and in that scenario, we're going to see more European nations, probably Asian nations, other countries outside the U.S. are going to be struggling as well. You're going to continue to see the dollar be the de facto safety currency, at least for the next 2 to 3 years. That, coupled with the slowdown in the U.S. economic activity, we are going to continue, I believe, to see interest rates at these low levels for at least the next 18 to 36 months. I don't see any way around it, and I think we need to plan accordingly as settlement planners and people working with people on their saving strategies and their income strategies. The government cannot continue to stimulate the economy forever. They've exhausted it. They'll continue to try, but I think the U.S. taxpayers and the U.S. voters are going to repudiate that approach in November, and after that point, I don't think you're going to see these massive stimulus programs that prop things up. The best example that we're looking at right now is just in today's Wall Street Journal. Many people are aware of the $8,000 home tax credit for first-time home buyers and how this has stimulated real estate sales and real estate sales activity. It ended in April. The May numbers came in, I believe, yesterday, and in most markets across the country, new home contracts dropped over 25% year to year because of the end of the credit stimulus. So what do we get out of Congress today? This is the 10th day of June, an announcement that they want to extend the credit a little bit longer. The point is, they cannot continue to prop up the housing market for too terribly much longer. New mortgage originations have dropped off a cliff. That was reported again today. The fact of the matter is everybody who could refinance is refinanced. Everybody who can qualify for a starter home jumped on that bandwagon. You've got a few stragglers, but if you don't have income growth, if you don't have growth in jobs, if you don't have greater economic stability, people are not going to make those purchases, and even if they want to, they don't qualify because of a variety of issues. Either they can't appraise the property, they don't have the income, or their credit's been dinged up. The U.S. real estate market is not going to recover and recover substantially for at least the next 18 to 24 months. It's another drag on our economic engine in the United States. The other element that people need to be aware of, and again, this was just reported today in the Wall Street Journal, about an hour before I came on the air, that U.S. companies and banks are holding more cash in any time in the last 52 years. They are hoarding cash. They're building up their cash reserves because they're terrified of another credit crunch. They're terrified of another recession. They're terrified that banks and the financial firms are going to further restrict and constrict lending. And if they're doing it and they're piling up cash, what do you think is also happening? Well, the Wall Street Journal reported today, for the 8th consecutive quarter, U.S. consumers have continued to pare down debt and build up their own cash reserves. So what do we have? We have a mentality, we have a belief, we have economic activity and behavior of people looking to build their balance sheets, take income now, strengthen their cash positions, and sit on cash. This is not going to grow jobs. This is not going to grow the economy. So if we're planners, and we are, and we work with people in settlement planning, we work with people in retirement planning, we help people with their savings and designing income programs, we can pretty much bank on the fact that the next 18 to 24 months, we're going to be looking at continued pressure to keep rates low and very little to no pressure to raise them up. Now, what we're going to cover in the next 4 parts of this series is, if you believe this economic premise, and again, as I said before, you can take it with a grain of salt or you can buy into it wholehearted. I will give you the links and I'll give you the information so that you can do your own research. But if we can agree that over the next 18, 24, 36 months, we're going to be in a low interest rate environment, we'd better get our acts together and we better have some plans for people to deal with this new economic reality. Just pretending things are going to pop back to where they were without any basis of fact, without any grounding in the economics, without a belief system that is pegged to economic reality and human behavior, we're doomed to fail. We have no credibility as advisors. So the first word of advice I can tell you is start reading up, start taking a look at what's going on around you in the economy, look at what past behavior has been, and then we can begin to make some plans, we can begin to make some programs and some progress toward the future. As I've said before, and our next program and our next video will cover this, is while people talk about cash being king, I don't believe for our clients, for people who are injury victims, people who are settling cases, people who are looking to retire, people who are looking to find ways to maximize their savings, that cash is king anymore. What I've said, and what we're going to entitle the next video, is that income is king. Cash is merely a prince now, guys. It is all about income. When you have interest rates at 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, it is all about generating income. And the typical ways that people in the past developed income, such as buying long-term bonds, buying investment real estate, buying high dividend paying stocks, many of those don't work for conservative investors in today's world and today's economy. We have to come up with some creative solutions and creative ideas. I'm going to have those for you in parts 4, 5, and 6 of this program. But I want you to watch the next video, I want you to watch the next broadcast and tell you, so that I can begin to explain a little bit and hopefully get you to buy into the concept that, yes, people are hoarding cash. We've seen the evidence. People are building up their cash reserves. But the fact is that unless they have a coherent plan that is safe, that is programmed and can work for them, that we can explain, all they're going to end up doing is drawing down those cash reserves to pay their current bills. We've got some solutions for you. We've got some ideas for you. So make sure you turn into parts 3, 4, 5, and 6 of this series and learn more about how we can help people plan in this low interest, high tax rate, and economically stale environment that we're going to find ourselves in over the next 24 to 36 months. Don't despair. It's not the end of the world, guys. Yeah, things are slow, but we are going to come out of this. We always do. But you have to have a plan. You have to have a course of action. And I'm going to help you get one and help you develop one that works for you, your practice, and your clients. This is Mark Wahlstrom. If you have any questions about this series or just want to know more about our firm and the type of work that we do for people in settlement planning, retirement planning, and income planning, you can contact me at 800-444-5924 or just find me on the web at wahlstromandassociates.com. Thanks. I'll see you again next week.